Good morning. It is truly sad for us in our community and our county. Um, as you heard the sheriff say that Jaheim and Juan, they did not make it home. They're in Arnold Palmer. We were there late last night with the families, and after talking to Jaheim's family, they have no other family. They're from Chicago, and they've been here about 8 years. When we sat with his sisters, all they wanted to know is he going to be okay? Is he going to be okay? I'm at a loss for words this morning. This is truly tragic for us. But to have a driver not even care about what happens and keep going, that should never happen when children are doing what they're supposed to do. They got off the school bus. They were going home. They did everything right. And they were going home. And for him to drive and leave them on the side of the road as if they were not even there, they were nothing. It hurts. It hurts me as a parent. It hurts me as the leader of this community and the school system. But most importantly, when I looked into his sister's eyes last night, the hurt was even greater. To know that all they wanted to know was Jaheim going to be okay? I spoke with Juan. Juan was, he was in good spirits last night. And he was able to speak to me and talk to me. And he was worried about school. And I told him, don't you worry about school. That's one thing I can control and I can help you with. Don't worry about that. I just needed him to get better. Both families are very, very hurt. They were there. They had not eaten last night, so we made sure the sheriff's office and our office made sure they had something to eat last night so that they can take care of themselves. They're at a loss for words right now. They could not come to grips with what happened, but they did ask for our prayers. So as our community, as we rally around, what we can do for them right now is to pray for them. And let's just uplift them and let's pray that those siblings, Jaheim's sisters, can find that answer that they need, because they're wanting to know if he's coming home, if he's going to be okay.
Any questions?
What time did the actual incident happen?
About 5 p.m. yesterday afternoon.
Why so long to notify the media?
I'm not even going to entertain that question.
Deputy Quintana, can you talk to us about what it was like to show up to a scene like that, to see those kids on the floor, and the impact it made on you and those kids as well? Because it must have been life-changing, not only for you, but you're an adult, these teens.
Honestly, I mean, I've been doing this job for almost 4 years, and I've seen a lot. I've been involved in a lot. Nothing compares to hearing your daughter ask for help, and you can't do nothing.
Any other questions?
Can we just talk about the fact that this was another law enforcement officer or a former law enforcement officer?
You know, when Deputy Quintana arrested him, he actually made this statement about, give me some respect. I'm a law enforcement officer. Well, no, you're not a law enforcement officer, and you deserve any respect at all. Because law enforcement officers don't act like that. People who are wannabes and shouldn't be's may act like that, but professional law enforcement officers don't get in the car and act like that. But this is a guy who was an alcoholic, who bragged about loving Captain Morgan and his rum, and he is a total embarrassment. And Deputy Quintana arrested him Our traffic homicide people have him locked up, and that's where we intend to keep him, hopefully for the rest of his life. So he's put people in jail. Now he's going to get to see it from the other side.
And is this his vehicle right here?
This is his vehicle.
And so can you just tell us, so the children are at Arnold Palmer?
The children are at Arnold Palmer Hospital right now, Jaheim and Juan.
Both are there.
Yes.
And so,
The other three were treated at the scene and released.
but Jaheim is still alive right now?
Jaheim is still alive, and we are told by the hospital, and I'm not sharing anything with you that hasn't been shared with the family, he is extremely, extremely critical conditions, and it's doubtful that he can recover.
Sheriff, when you look at this vehicle, I mean, that's some serious impact to damage a vehicle to that degree. I mean, he had to really mow these children down.
Well, he not only hit the children, he hit another vehicle as well. So this is not just from the children, but we recovered blood and hair and tissue from the children as well from this vehicle. And we currently have this vehicle to do further forensic studies on it and to seize all of the evidence. It's now locked up in our crime scene area. You can be sure of this, that this investigation will be complete, it will be thorough, and it will be overtly convincing when we do all of the things we need to do. And it's a long process.
What was the suspect actually doing here if he's originally from Mississippi?
He lives here.
Oh,
He lives here now. He's been back and forth, but he lives here.
how long has he lived in Poinciana?
He's lived in that area. I don't know how long, but he actually lived here, and I understand that he went back to Mississippi. He's got arrest there. He's been arrested for DUI and driving on a suspended license there. And he was also arrested for public drunk in Mississippi. This is a man. John Camfield is a man who is an absolute, total drunk. He doesn't care about anyone but John Camfield. He didn't care about those children he ran over. He didn't care about that pregnant woman whose vehicle he ran into. He's had other law enforcement agencies. I had the one sheriff said, we tried and tried and tried to help him because he was a very competent law enforcement. Hold on a second. You want me to answer that phone for you? Let me say it again. The sheriff told us he was a very competent law enforcement officer when he was sober. He said, we tried and tried and tried to help him. But he was more interested in himself and his drinking and his alcohol than he was in his job, his employers, these children. This is a classic case. You're looking at the guy that needs to be in prison for the rest of his life, because if he's not in prison, the community around him is not safe. And we're going to do everything we can to accommodate him with a very long prison sentence.
Was he fired because of his drinking?
He's worked for 10 different agencies. They shuffled him around. And certainly when y'all dig into the aftermath of talking to all of them, you can probably get a better history. We just made a couple of quick phone calls this morning and found out this much.
It appears on his Facebook page that he was getting married.
In August, he told them he was getting married.
He was getting married in August.
If I was his fiance, I would scratch that date. He won't be available.
Does he have any kids, do you know, Sheriff?
I don't know.
How is the pregnant woman doing?
She's good. She was treated. She was transported and treated, but she's doing all right.
Was there anybody at the accident scene that was party to the accident, the victim, hid in any way, that you had to find family members that were not there in the neighborhood?
I don't know.
What did the pregnant woman say happened, like, when he hit her? Did she see it coming, or did she park?
I don't have those details. Quite frankly, she didn't have significant injuries. She was treated and released, and she as significant as any crash like this is, she wasn't the focus of our minute details at that time. It was the children and the previous crash. And as Deputy Quintana didn't tell you, but John was so drunk that he fell into the deputy's patrol car and dented the car up.
Maybe I didn't crying?
We don't know. That will be information that's developed during the traffic homicide investigation. We've taken all the measurements, but he was driving fast enough to totally devastate children's lives.
Is he crying?
Deputy, how close were you to this, or are you to the scene? How long did it take you to get there?
It only took me approximately a minute. As soon as my daughter started screaming, I got up and left my home. I lived at the end of that road, so I got there pretty quick.
About a block away.
And it's also important when he says he got out of bed, he works midnight shift.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was lounging around.
Deputy Poinciana, how shocking was his demeanor to you as a law enforcement officer? I mean, this guy had no remorse, seems like.
I treated him with the utmost respect that we can during the circumstances, but I didn't care. I didn't care who he was at that time.
Was he crying in these children?
I'm sorry?
It seems like your child went to school with these kids. Did you know these children personally?
Yes. Every morning I drop off my daughter. Every morning I see those kids. Every afternoon I pick up my daughter. Every afternoon I see those kids.
Do you know a little bit about some of them that you can share with us?
I only know that one of the kids is my next door neighbor, and I'm very close with his father, his family, and he was one of the kids injured, so I've been in touch with them the whole night, and like the sheriff said, he's doing well.
And did your daughter say they saw or did they hear the car coming, or it was just out of nowhere?
No, my daughter said she didn't see anything, she didn't hear anything, only when the car hit them and the kids flew, is what she described to me.
And for the kids at the scene, are they going to be going through counseling, not just the ones that were there, but also just at school?
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
We have counselors this morning. We were at both schools. We have counselors at the schools this morning. They'll be there all day today, and if we have to return on Monday for them, we will. We've also offered, when we were there last night, counseling to both families if they need further counseling from any of the family members.
Ms. Bird, all 5 students went to the same middle school. That had to impact the entire school. Usually if it's one death, not the entire school, but 5. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, what are you hearing from the students that are there and the teachers that are with those students?
Well, it not only impacts the school, it's the entire community. And right
Sure,
now,
you know them personally.
right.
They have a direct impact. Talk about that.
Right. Right now, we have the counselors out there, so we're allowing the children to express themselves through the grief counseling that we have on site. Some of them are very close. They know either the sister or the brother. They know both of them. So they're able to go through the counseling sessions with our grief counselors right now today as they're going through that. We left there quite naturally to come here for the press conference at this time. But we'll keep the counselors on site for the children and the families, any of the families that are there that need additional counseling. So.
Superintendent, did you have any process last night after the accident happened of just normal routine stuff of notifying your students' families, as well as like any of the other students that just may have attended the school?
The principals of both schools, they begin notifying the families and of everything and how that comes out. Also, our communications, we start notification. We'll put out a release of information. But when we got the information, quite natural, it was limited. When we received it last night as the sheriff, they were still doing their report. But we want to make sure we go through the process of beginning the notification. One of the things we want to make sure we do is notify staff at both school sites that we can have a meeting first thing in the morning so that we can provide the grief counseling not only for the teachers and the staff, but for the children. So we want to make sure we covered all those bases, and we did that last night as quickly as we could. Both principals were at the hospital as well last night with the families.
I only got one school. There were 2 schools involved. What were the 2 schools?
We had Lake Marion Creek. Juan's mother is a teacher at Lake Marion Creek, so therefore that was an impact. They also went to Lake Marion Creek at one point, and with that being a close community, so they know each other, and they still know some of the students that are at the other school as well.
And the other was middle school.
Dundee Ridge Academy, they're both middle.
You can't prepare for something like this, can you, sir?
No, you cannot.
Sheriff, do you know what the suspect was doing just prior to the accident? Where
where he was going?
Drinking. I don't know. That's part of the follow-up investigation.
Have you talked to his fiance?
I haven't.
Sheriff, your message to him and people driving and doing these kind of things, you always have a really good statement you
Yeah.
put out. If I missed that earlier, I apologize.
Well, the statement is clear that he is going to spend, we hope, the rest of his life in prison. And here's the message. The message is, you've damaged children for the rest of their lives. And we anticipate that at the end of the day, one child is going to lose his life as a result of your drinking and your driving. And for those of you who think, well, it can't happen to me, he didn't think it could happen to him either. But I can tell you this. He's not worthy of being called a former law enforcement officer. He's a crook. He's a criminal. And he's being treated as a criminal because that's the conduct he displayed.
And Sheriff, was there any video either from the school bus or from a patrol car of what happened?
There was none of the school bus. The school bus had already left the area. And we will, as part of our follow-up investigation, look to see if we can find any other video that's in the area. The initial areas we checked for video, because we've already started checking, has not revealed any at this point in the investigation. But keep in mind, you know, we just got this guy in jail a few hours ago. And it's a long technical process to successfully prepare a traffic homicide case. Our traffic homicide people are simply the absolute very best. They're the best trained with the best technology and, unfortunately, a great deal of experience. So it is a very slow, meticulous process to create a case against someone. And we want to make sure that John Camfield, who we knew via his job at the Old Cypress Gardens as Cam, is locked up for a very, very long time.
Sheriff, question for me. If Jaheim does not survive, can you talk to us about the charges being upgraded?
The traffic homicide team is preparing now to upgrade the charges should he not survive.